Hi guys, this is Marcy Fiorillo, and this is your video for the Humanities 1002 Week 3 Assignment 2 project. So as you know, you will click on Week 3 from the widgets here or go to Content, scroll down on the left side and click on Week 3. Of course, you will want to begin your week by reading the chapters assigned in your Stokestad text. And learning the materials before you attempt to write about or demonstrate your knowledge of them. You have to gain the knowledge first before you can demonstrate it. You will then work your way down through all the tasks here, reading through the online lectures. Of course, you've already posted to the discussion by now, and you will be going back to post your replies hopefully in the next day or so. But for the Week 3 project, you can find the directions at the very bottom of all the Week 3 material. This week we have stepped away from Western art and are taking a whirlwind tour through the East, through the cultures of India, China, Japan, Africa, and the Pacific cultures. And we are actually looking at art from 1300 to the present day in these cultures. And your assignment this week will be to put together an essay that's kind of like an exhibition of world art, where you will share a couple of examples from each of the cultures and talk about them, talk about the style and why they are culturally significant. Why your reader should care about these artworks. So the first thing you're going to do is locate the objects. I've created a help document once again, so let's go on over there. And to locate your objects, you really shouldn't look on the internet this week unless you're clicking on these links that I have provided for you here on Khan Academy. A random Google search will definitely lead you down the wrong path this week, just because of the vagueness of the searches that you'll probably be doing. So choose from your text. I've given you the chapters here. If it's in the text, it will be appropriate. And then I've also given you some links to Khan Academy, which will list out some other choices for you as well. Just remember the key is it must be from the right geographical region and it must be dated from 1300 to the present day. So you're going to select 10 artworks to write about, and you're going to basically be writing what would be a museum label or a placard for the museum, which is when you go to an art museum, you see those little cards next to them that explain what the artwork is and basically why it's important. So the first thing you want to do is sort of label out all your different cultures so that you are correctly identifying them. And it's easy to see for both of us when I'm grading or when you're submitting your assignment that you have 2 artworks for each of the 5 cultures if you have them clearly labeled. Each artwork needs to have an image and you also need to identify it fully. So the great news is if you are choosing from your text, all of this information will be in the caption below it. So you need the name of the artist or at least the culture that produced it, the title of the artwork, the date of the artwork, the media or the materials used to create the artwork, and its current location. And again, this would be right underneath the image in your textbook if you're choosing from there. Then you're going to write a paragraph describing why the object is representative of its culture. So what are some of the visual characteristics that you see in the artwork that make it Japanese or that make it African or that make it from the Pacific cultures? And then why is it culturally significant? So basically you're describing why you've selected this object for display. So if you were a museum curator and you were told to gather 2 objects from all of Chinese art, which 2 would you pick and why would you have chosen those? Well, hopefully you chose them because they're most indicative of the Chinese style. And so you're going to write a paragraph for each one of your artworks. So that's a minimum of 10 paragraphs for just this section, and answer those 2 questions. First of all, a brief sort of description of it, what visual characteristics you see that make it representative of that culture, and then some information about why it's culturally significant. Why is this artwork important to the culture? Is this a typical example of the culture? Is it portraying an important moment in history? So what you're doing here is you're demonstrating the knowledge you've gained about this culture's art. in this paragraph. Then, and this is the part that students often forget, there is still more. There's one more paragraph where you are going to compare and contrast those 5 cultures and the artworks you've chosen in this sort of concluding paragraph. So summarizing what you've chosen, highlighting those key similarities and distinctions between the two. How is Chinese art different from Japanese art? What features do you see in African art that might be similar to the Pacific cultures? And this means you need to mention each of the artworks that you've chosen and compare and contrast them to each other using compare and contrast language. Similar, unlike, in comparison to, that's an example of compare and contrast language. How are the 5 cultures that we're reading and writing about this week similar and different? So you're going to summarize all that in a concluding paragraph. Now, whether or not you can do that in 8 to 10 sentences, that's just depends on how succinctly you write. But always make sure that you write enough to fully address the topic prompt. Again, read over those rubrics and see where all the points are located, and remember that where the point concentration is where you should definitely be applying your effort so that you can get the full points in that section. I do grade it strictly by the rubric, and you can have a great paper, but if you forgot the conclusion and that's worth 42 points, then guess what? You're out 42 points. So, so make sure you pay attention to the directions and the rubric. If you do have any questions, be sure and let me know. I'm always available to help, to go over artwork choices, to help you if you aren't seeing the style characteristics in a particular artwork, etc. You just have to ask. It's text, email, or call away. Thanks a lot.